Hi, I'm Dr. Lisa Miller.
And I'm Nazar Yassin.
Welcome to Soul Searching, where we discover how your inner journey
fuels your outer impact. And here on the show, we're always trying to find spiritual solutions to social problems, which is why I'm so grateful to have a sponsor like the Fetzer Institute.
The Fetzer Institute holds the mission of building the spiritual foundation of a more loving world, an ideal thought partner.
Much like our guest on today's episode. Can't wait to share it with you.
Like, I didn't say to everybody, hey, you guys, I'm great, I'm very talented, or I'm enthusiastic. I just was quietly waiting to unlock it somehow. You know, you're working like crazy and then all of a sudden you're not working like crazy. You have no control over it, really. The only thing you can control is everything that's within yourself. I do believe in the spirit of a kind of inner joy that pervades our activities and our choices and is contagious and that we need.
We are tremendously honored to be in conversation with B.D. Wong.
So excited to have you here. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
B.D., to get the ball rolling, tell us about the inner B.D. We talk about the inner journey fueling outer impact.
Well, you know, we've talked a little bit, you and I, before this, and I'm fascinated by what to pull out from this bag of many things that I think of as myself. And I don't know if there's one thing or one story that seems to exemplify my inner beingness. But if I open the bag and just stick my head in it, I think what comes out is a sense of, I think, the evolution of who I was as a child. And I would say such a core part of my self-identity, my self-perception about myself, is the essence of performing and what it means to share yourself as a performer and what it means to train and learn and develop the craft of a performer, and how as a child that thing is like an ember or like an inclination or a feeling that you can nurture it, or it can be shut down or tamped down. And so I was lucky enough to be in a string of situations throughout my childhood that allowed me to nurture it. And that part of that is because of my parents, and part of that is because of my teachers. And I discovered throughout it, if I look at it from, like, as you said, the inside, like there was a ember, that's a little corny, but it was kind of an ember, or like a light, or like a quiet voice, and kind of tapping at you and showing me a sense of joy or of satisfaction or happiness when it got explored, when the itch got scratched, when I sang a song or when I said something that made people laugh. But it really wasn't until high school that I was on stage for the first time. The musical was Guys and Dolls. A teacher came into the class and asked for volunteers for the school orchestra to play for the school musical. And I said, oh, I was going to sign up for that. And this friend, a female friend of mine, she said, no, the action is not in the orchestra pit. The action is on the stage, and you want to be on stage. You want to go and try out for the play, not to play in the orchestra. And I remember very distinctly having an inner feeling of conflict and relief that someone was encouraging me to do this. Like, I didn't know how to cross the line to actually doing it, but I knew I wanted to do it. And so it was really lucky for me that she dragged me to this audition or this tryout. And that's where I met my high school drama teacher. And that relationship was extremely influential in my identifying myself as an artist, identifying the different things that I naturally could do, planting the seeds that I could do those things, and planting the seed of confidence in me that I could pursue it professionally. And that wasn't just performing, she insisted that I wrote and directed and designed costumes and scenery and did choreography. She
Your high school teacher.
my high school drama teacher,
Wow.
Mrs. Chanis, yes. And I was a kind of all over the place kind of kid. I was interested in drawing and I had a directorial sensibility, and she would ask how we could problem solve. How do we get these kids to do this over here and then do this over here? And I would have answers. And so she saw me kind of as a budding director or something like that. And she just had me designing the posters and the T-shirts, and she pressed me into all aspects of creativity, the theater, and accessing different parts of myself, to the extent that I left high school with an incredible sense of myself and went to a college program that did not recognize me in the same way at all. In fact, I was rather invisible there, and I had to quit because if it hadn't been for my high school teacher, I wouldn't have known who I was. But I already knew who I was by the time I went to college, and they didn't see it at all the same way she did. And I already knew, though. Yeah. So I was like, there's something very wrong with this. Like, all of a sudden, I can't have changed into somebody who isn't worth anything. I didn't get picked for anything. I wasn't accessed. They weren't interested in me. They didn't see my potential at all. I was nurtured by her. She created me in a way. And so I left school and I came to New York, and I just really wanted to be an actor so badly that I felt that it was worth it to try to learn how to be an actor without a formal education. I got an independent education in many different ways, as one does. But that was a huge decision for me, and one that turned out great for me. I've been a New Yorker since then, almost fresh out of high school. And I guess what I always do is re-examine or reinvestigate or redraw from the well of that identity that my high school drama teacher created for me, to the extent that now, very recently, I'm re-examining all of that and writing and directing and not limiting myself to performance opportunities. And that's been incredibly satisfying to me and made me remember, actually, the person that she saw. And I'm really grateful to her for it. I mean,
are you still in touch?
She's passed.
Oh, okay.
And that is a shame. She passed rather young. A couple of years after M. Butterfly, she passed. So she was able to come to New York and see M. Butterfly and enjoy that. And that was wonderful for us. But she then passed. And so she is a kind of a, what do you call that? Well, she's everywhere now.
Yeah.
Because she's passed. You know, she's not in a specific space at a specific time and accessible that way. She's accessible actually in some ways more fully because she's everywhere in everything I do, or that's the way I see it. And so,
do you hear her in your mind's eye? Do you hear her encouragement, guidance, seeing you beyond what you even knew for yourself?
Yes, but not in a voicey kind of way. It's a sense of a sensibility, or it's a remembrance of the color of that, the vibration of that, whatever that felt like when I'm reminding myself, or I am reminded. So fast forward to now.
A sense of her presence, a sense of her being.
Yes, no question about that. Of her enthusiasm. She was very giddy. She was very eccentric. She cared a lot about all her kids.
M. Butterfly, years later, I remember your joy in expressing the role. That was part of what was so profoundly uplifting for me in beholding your performance in M Butterfly.
Well,
It
thanks.
was the sheer delight that then infused the character.
I mean, it wasn't the most joyful play. It wasn't a comedy. It wasn't uplifting in the traditional sense, right? But you're saying somehow my performance made you feel
It was
joy and uplifting.
there was an energy
Yes, there was an energy. Yeah, there was an energy. I agree
that
with
was
that.
almost ethereal.
I do believe in the spirit of a kind of inner joy that pervades our activities and our choices, and is contagious, and that we need. My dad was all about laughter. My dad was a very emotional person, and he passed in 2005. We all miss him terribly, and he really lives very vibrantly in my life and in my world. My mom is now the living touchstone of their special relationship. They really were a pretty special couple. She's very popular, my mom, and enjoying it and holding her own in that way.
Are you a parent?
Yes. Oh, yes.
So then she's also a grandma.
She's also a grandma.
Yeah.
She has 6 grandkids.
And that joyful legacy, are you that type of father that your father was? Laughing, joyful.
Oh, yeah. I mean, in a
How
different
glorious
way.
this food this day.
Yes. I think that the things that we share, that we like in common, and food is one of those things. We share, we're constantly sending each other pictures of something that looks like it tastes really good.
That's awesome.
And then responding in the way that you hope the person will respond, because you get them and they get you. He went through a period of time as a child where he was just so delighted by, America's Funniest Home Videos, people falling down and mishaps and their misfortune, their physical misfortune. Hopefully,
Bloopers are hilarious.
yes.
Yeah.
But hopefully these, you say as a parent, hopefully these videos are not people actually hurting themselves. You try to kind of preface everything with that. But at the same time, just watching him literally slapping his knee over somebody falling down or dropping something they're trying to carry or something.
You went from, new high school student
Yeah.
where you didn't say you wanted to be on the stage. You said, okay, orchestra, maybe even a little bit reluctantly. And it took a friend to kind of nudge you like, hey, no, you need to do that.
Yeah.
To a few years later being like, these people don't know what they're missing out on. Like, screw you guys. I'm going to New York and I'm going to prove you wrong, right?
Yes.
And like, what caused that transition? Because that's like, you clearly possessed some confidence in your abilities before that, right?
Yeah.
But there was like venturing out on the ledge kind of thing reluctantly. And then there's like, I got this. Like what caused that transition? Because I think that's what a lot of people struggle with, is taking that next step.
Yeah. The only thing I can tell you, I mean, I'm answering this and I'm all in the zone with you now about all of this inner and outer thought and everything.
Yeah.
And I come back to that he was always there. I mean, he was always there. And like I said, it was kind of a secret. Like I didn't say to everybody, hey, you guys, I'm great. I'm very talented, or I'm enthusiastic. I just was quietly waiting to unlock it somehow. And when people unlocked it, I let it come flying out. And that's when I was like, you see, I mean, everybody, do you see? It's like something I could really feel. And so it wasn't that much of a leap at that point, because he was there waiting to kind of be given permission and to give himself permission. And when those things both happened, there was kind of like a very powerful sense that it was right. When I see a great performance by an actor, or let's just say by an actor, I say, the way that I describe it is to say, she changed the molecules in the air. And like she came out there and we were all just sitting there. We were all there in the same place. And then this person came out, did their thing, put their energy into it, their training, their passion, their voice, their heart, their intellect. All of these things came magically together, and the molecules in the air were changed. Did you feel it? The molecules in the air were changed. It's poetic and it's rather kind of, artsy fartsy kind of way of looking at it. But I really believe that.
Totally,
I believe that that's the true harnessing power of goodness and positive energy and gifts that we are given. So we all have some kind of gifts. What I was saying is that I self-identified this, I would call it like a hunch of having gifts. Like I said, I think I have gifts.
Yeah, you got a nudge from a friend and then validation from a teacher.
Yes, right. She said, you cannot waste this. She was like warning me in a very kind of tough love kind of way. You can't squander this. You've got to like look into this. You don't have to do it for good or forever or be sure that this is what you want to do. But you've got to you got to explore it.
Right.
And she actually was the an impetus for talking to my parents about this, because my parents had traditional kind of economically safe ideas about what
doctor,
their kids
lawyer,
would
that
do.
kind of stuff. Yeah.
And for lots of great good reasons. And she was the one that went to them and said, I really think you should let them try to try it out. Just explore it. And then you can do something else if you want later. So in my discussions with younger people, I'm always really liberal about their thinking of themselves in a narrow way. Really, there are no bad choices. You have to kind of explore. You have to follow your heart in when it feels right, and sometimes that's all you need to find the thing, whatever it is a tuning in with yourself.
See, this is so valuable for people listening to this show, right? Because there's a lot of young people out there who are trying to find themselves.
Yes.
And especially in today's very complex world with AI this and climate that and socioeconomic things, what do I do with my life? And to hear from you, well, hey, look, it took a nudge from somebody, and it also took one piece of like validation and support from somebody I trust.
Yeah.
For me to like convince myself.
Yes.
And to figure out that this inner voice telling me that I'm good at this is right.
Yes.
Right. And so that's an incredibly powerful takeaway, I think, from this conversation.
And your parents' choice to let you follow your soul's code.
Yeah. It was a combination of luck, great combination of what's the word? A charmed combination of people and energies. I'm just recently noticing on social media a lot of discussion about the uselessness of education, that people have an opinion of, that education is not important, that what are these kids, that colleges are brainwashing kids, and that their education is completely useless. And there was one particular video I saw that someone had posted as an example of how our kids are completely lost. That's what their take on it was. And it was, and I can't quote exactly what the kid was saying, but it was a person interviewing them and saying, well, what's your major? What are you studying here? And they were on a college campus. And this young kind of quirky, nerdy young woman went into this very elaborate verbal description of what she was studying that sounded like it bore no resemblance to, well, what are you going to do with that? Is the next question. Right?
Oh, right.
You go to college and you're studying that, whatever that is. And I wish I could say what it was, but it was something rather, it sounded very Byzantine and kind of like
Renaissance
very
era
strange.
art history around.
Yeah, very specific, very whatever. And I got tugged in different directions with that person's journey and she spoke so passionately about it. It's very touching to me how she was being derided and ridiculed by the people posting about her because she was an example of how education was a complete waste of time for everybody. And in context of the conversation we're having, I realize that's just the answer that she's giving us about who she is in that moment is not fully formed.
Totally.
She's found something that works for her. Where that leads her, make no mistake, there is a place for this person in the world.
Totally. Yeah.
And for us to be devaluing education as a result of her answer to the question is unconscionable to me. It's not fair to the whole spirit of what my teacher tried to get me to do, which was explore. And what she said was, you can do something else if this doesn't work out, but you have to explore it while you're young, while the training is available to you for all the right reasons. And I realized that this young woman that I was watching and that I was getting tugged to war, I was like, well, what is she going to do? I was falling into the mentality, what is she going to do with that degree?
This isn't practical.
It's not practical.
Right. Yeah.
And then now I'm telling you, oh, of course, it's the exploration that's so rich and so vital and so important to give our kids the gift of that without judgment and without expectation of what some kind of measure of success that is mythical anyway. Because what money means, what is the success? She was absolutely successful as someone who knew what she loved.
100%.
Right.
100%.
So I've come around to viewing that video, stepping back and kind of going, oh, yeah, that was a trap that they're trying to set for people to devalue education. And nothing that I ever say about education ever criticizes it. To me, it is the key to discovery of oneself and where one possibly fits into the world.
A true education.
A true education.
So explore your gifts,
Explore your
discover
gifts,
your
yes.
passions, and there is a place in the world for you.
Yeah.
Yes.
And shine.
See, I thought you were going in a different direction when you started this. I was like, okay, he's going to get into how education is forcing people down certain tried and true paths, the doctor, lawyer type of path.
Right.
And that's why education may or may not be broken. But I completely agree with you. It takes people sometimes an entire lifetime to find what their passion is and what they're good at. And that's totally fine.
Yeah.
If you happen to be fortunate enough, as this young lady was, to discover that Renaissance art history and the economics of trade or whatever it was is her thing at 20 years old, that's a blessing.
Yeah.
Like, explore it. Like,
she was so unfettered by it. She just spoke about it. She was completely unaware that there would be anything negative about it. And then here were these people were flipping it on, putting a lens on it that was really mean, actually.
Yeah.
I go to a lot of colleges and universities and do a lot of speaking engagements and talk to the kids and the students. And a lot of them, their main question is about their life path and you could feel their tremulous kind of nervousness about it.
Totally.
And it often, if not always, is involving their relationship to their parents and their parents' role, and sometimes it's financial, sometimes it's just a strength that the parents have or cultural that puts the pressure on the kids to choose a particular thing. And that thing that they're going to choose or are likely to choose or are being encouraged to choose is often the thing that isn't related to who they are at all.
It's expectations that are being foisted on them.
Yeah. And practical considerations. Yeah. And practical considerations are a part of real life.
Totally. Yeah.
So every single person makes some kind of practical consideration in their everyday choices about everything. So I'm not going to say throw that all out the window. But I think that particularly immigrant parents and in many cases Asian American parents have a real pressure that they put on their kids, partly because as immigrants they came here to turn the tide of the trajectory of their family.
Yeah.
And part of that is a certain kind of commercial success, financial success, and stability, and an ability for the generations to come to live better than they did. And that's real.
Yeah.
What ends up happening is that a lot of little lights and a lot of little hearts are challenged by that.
If the three ingredients of a successful career are I'm passionate about it, I'm good at it, and I can earn an income.
Yeah.
If those are the three ingredients, you at least have to start with the passion one when you're younger.
What else do you have?
What else do you have? Like, because otherwise you're setting yourself up for like a completely unfulfilled life of I'm just chasing the what can I earn an income from? And then let me figure out if I'm good at it. And if you're not good at it, well, then your career will not work out because you're just chasing the money. And if you're not passionate about it, it's kind of like the Emerson thing of nothing great was ever accomplished without enthusiasm.
Yeah.
And this is why Lisa's saying, hey, your enthusiasm for your craft made you this ethereal presence, right, on the stage, right?
Truly.
And there's some, I believe that. I think there's something to that. When somebody is really passionate about what they're doing, it changes the molecules in the air.
Yes, yeah,
Right?
I really think that's true. Yeah.
So if you're a young person and you feel that passion for something, you have a higher probability of changing the molecules in the air.
Yes. The passion and identifying it is fundamental to all mechanisms within you as you grow older, relationships,
Totally.
and not just your job, but your relationships and your relationships. Your relationships.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Every relationship is made or broken by a person's ability to know what they want, to know what their boundaries are, to know how they can coexist with another person or not, and if not, what to do about it.
Yeah.
And
that which we know, I mean, is that the soul saying yes? Is that our deepest inner being, knowing if we're aligned?
yes, right. Well, the alignment is the mirroring of something that you know within yourself, I guess.
Deep within yourself.
Yeah. I guess a good example is that I work in an industry, show business, which is very structured and very fraught with all kinds of things like discrimination and unfairness, and the wind blows one way, and then all of a sudden, you're working like crazy, and then all of a sudden you're not working like crazy. You have no control over it, really. The only thing you can control is everything that's within yourself. The craft that you're offering people, the quality of the work, your ability to be responsible and to collaborate with people in a way that wants to make them collaborate with you again. That is always an element of success. But at the end of the day, you're not in control of so many aspects of it. You compare yourself to others in a way that's not healthy. It happens naturally because what else do you have but to be observant of what other people are doing and then what you're doing or not doing. And it can really do a number on you. And when you kind of give over to it and just think it is what it is and allow it, that is when you can be most successful, really. That is when also opportunities magically open for you in a way that is hard to explain and hard to understand.
It struck me that Hollywood may be the biggest tide is in or tide is out kind of industry in the world.
People have this idea that actors are neurotic and crazy, and there's truth to it because in some ways we're made to be driven crazy in certain extreme ways. And then, you're talking about things like body image. And for me, there were two keys to combating or working against this. And one of them was being open and releasing, being, what's the word?
Catharsis?
Acceptance.
Accepting.
Accepting.
A big part of the challenge of being an actor, especially at kind of my level, the kind of, I'm a character actor of a certain age. I'm a minority. There's a lot of like, boxes that I'm checking and boxes that I'm not checking on any kind of casting conversation. And so there's a lot of rejection. So the acceptance I'm saying is like, look, if you're going to be in the industry, you accept how it is and you take what you get. You do the best that you can with your tools, making yourself as talented and marketable and as good at your craft as possible, and also be a pleasant person to work with. And then it's not up to you anymore, whatever happens. But the other thing that's just as important is taking your talents, and this goes back to high school and it goes back to my high school drama teacher, and generating your own creative content and material. It's much more satisfying than being hired to be playing a particular character on a television show and reporting every day to do that job. That is actually paling in comparison to writing or telling story or creating story that is important to me and that I believe in, that I'm passionate about, or collaborating with artists that I want to collaborate with, that I have personally selected and developed relationships with. All the different things that I'm doing now that are not related to just waiting for someone to pick me.
You have managed to, in literally the craziest industry of them all, the one with the highest peaks and the lowest valleys, you found and fostered the joy.
And fueling your own opportunity to create.
Yes.
You are not beholden to anyone else to realize your soul.
That's right. Yeah. And here, when I was like finding, this isn't working for me, like going up for these jobs on a TV show, then I get the job and I do the job and then I wait for another job and I do that job and I'm a hired hand.
Right.
It's not my vision. It's not my story. It's not my thing. And in many cases, my creativity is actually hampered by the limitations of that project, whatever it is.
We all need somebody like your teacher, right, to kind of give us that push. Sometimes I think you refer to them as trail angels in life, right?
Oh,
these people, this trail, this journey on.
They're on your trail.
Yeah,
you're saying you meet them on your trail.
You meet them on your trail. Yeah.
And they're inspired as well as inspirational. There's something divine about a trail angel.
Yes, I love it. We should all be aspiring to influence each other in positive ways as much as we can. And when we have an experience with a teacher like that, we have to learn how to turn it back and be as positive as we can.
Well, you're doing that. You're going from school to school.
Yeah, I am. I'm trying to do that. Yeah.
Being now a trail angel, guiding.
In the 90s, in the late 90s, I had it was after in Butterfly, and I think an agent said, would you like to come up with some topics that you could talk on, and I will book you in some colleges. The main thing that I have talked about the most, that is a recurring thing, a theme for me in the speeches, is the intersectionality of being queer and being a person of color, and how those relate to each other and how they are similar and they mirror each other in many ways. I talk a little bit about my drama teacher, and I talk a little bit about how I was a very girly boy that flounced around, and some people raised some people's eyebrows, and I was embarrassed by it when someone wanted me to be embarrassed. When somebody embarrassed me about it, but at the same time, it was who I was, and it took me a long time to learn that it was who I was and that it was okay. And it also fed into my talent in a way, the fearlessness of it and the joy and the sense of humor I had about it was all part of who I was. And for a while, I kind of beat myself up about it because there was shame and there was homophobia and there was a lot of baggage that surrounds it, and people don't know what to do with that energy. And then I came around for various reasons. Parenthood was a part of it. And now I'm astonished that I ever really doubted it or was so self-loathing, as it were. And I also felt in a similar way like I didn't want to be Asian. And that was partly because I was a consumer of the media and I was looking for opportunities as a person who aspired to be an actor.
Right. Yeah.
And I was like, well, there's nothing out there for me as an Asian person. So it sure would be better if I was a white person,
Right.
wouldn't it? And then you start chipping away at your inner pride or your inner sense of self-esteem
Yeah.
about those two arguably most important parts of yourself.
Right. Yeah.
And that mustn't happen. I really don't want young people to experience that. And I want to at least discuss what happened within my body and soul and heart and mind while it was happening, to create a conversation about how unnecessary it is. And so that's the main thing. And that crosses over into conversations about representation,
Yeah.
the representation of marginalized people in the media, and opportunities. It was when I came out, was when I had written a memoir about my son's birth. And he had a very difficult birth. He was in the intensive care for 3 months, and he was 3 months premature. And I at the time, was the very beginning of email, and I wrote all these emails to friends and family to update them on what was happening, because the birth was so traumatic that people were all leaning forward, and there was like a kind of a what do you call it, telephone chain or whatever, like, do you know what's happening? Can somebody please tell me what's happening with those guys and what's happening with their family? And so I said, well, let me just write an email to everyone, and please forward this to anyone that you feel. And I ended up, again, I was reconnecting with my drama teacher's identity of myself as a writer. I started to write these elaborate, sometimes funny, terrifying, sometimes sad, diatribes of, like they were like essays about what's happening today.
Wow.
And when you have a premature infant in the NICU unit, the doctor tells you you're going to be here for as long as he was supposed to be in the womb, and all these things are going to happen. I'll give you a list of them. I can't tell you what order they're going to happen, but they're going to happen. We're going to be checking off the eyes, the lungs, the circulatory system, all of it. We're going to have some issues with something, and hopefully everything will turn out okay at the end, which it did. But you're going to be here. And so I was there. He was there in the little thing, and I just started typing on the laptop and sent these updates, and it became
Every
a book.
day. You were there every
And
day.
it became a book.
I was there every day, and I sent an update probably once a week, which was 13 weeks, and then it became a book. And the long story short, I realized when I was about to publicize the book that it didn't occur to me that this means I'm also coming out, because I had never really talked about being queer before that. And as soon as I did it, it unlocked for me a lot of shame that I had been holding about it, that I was worried about and nervous about, the industry and all of that stuff. And
was it shame from the industry that you felt?
Well, the fear of coming out is a real one for actors in the industry. It's plenty of actors who don't want to go on the record. Still, even today, plenty do, and plenty don't. And the plenty who don't for really good reasons. I mean, it's you don't know. You're not in control of who picks you and how they pick you or why they don't. So why give them that information?
Right.
I don't think that, but this is what other people think.
Yeah.
Why give them that information? I'm an actor. I think I want to stay in my creative space. I want to be able to play a straight person. I want to maintain the career that I'm continuing to have. Let's just not say anything. It's personal.
Right.
Why should I say anything?
Yeah.
I didn't feel that way. And I really don't feel that way now that I've already gotten to the other side of the mountain of it. And what it did for me was it allowed me to speak much more candidly in these colleges. When I started going to these colleges, I was very controlled about it in the beginning. And then I just got released from feeling like I had to control any of it.
Released.
And released again.
What did that feel like?
Well, it was literally a coming out in that for, I'd say, a good 10 years of my speaking career, I had a very well prepared speech written out in a little plastic, with the plastic sleeves that you put the papers in, you know, a little binder, and it was all written out. And I stood behind the lectern and with a microphone just like this, and I read it and I did it. And then I answered questions. And then as soon as I had done it, I had been told very early on by this agent that booked me on the first speaking engagement, well, you know, you do the speech a few times and then you get comfortable with it and then you don't need the script anymore. You can just kind of do it and you just talk and you cover all the points that you're coming in. And I said, well, that's cool. And I really hadn't gotten there yet. And then it was like magically, what I literally did was I didn't have the script anymore. I asked for a body mic and I came out from behind the lectern and I started walking around like people do, like a TED Talk or whatever. And I realized that the lectern was
Boxing
somehow,
you in.
well, protecting me from some, you know, like I felt safer there.
Okay. Yeah.
And I didn't need to feel safer there anymore once I had fully gone on the record.
You felt unburdened.
I felt unburdened,
Yeah.
completely unburdened. And that was a sense of also acceptance and release. And the channel was open for them to ask questions. And I talk about it now when I am literally doing it with them. I'm saying, I want you to see me now like this. I'm standing on the stage. There's nothing in front of me. I used to be this person.
Right.
And I go over there and I stand behind the thing. But now I'm this person and I don't really care what I'm saying or not saying. I'm not editing myself at all. It's all kind of flowing. And I think you benefit from, the students or the people listening benefit from a person being more accessible that way. But as an actor, if you were to equate it to be an athletic event, it's in the pocket is what just you're in, like
You're in the zone.
speed skating, you cannot be pushing yourself as a speed skater. You know that your state of relaxation and being in the channel is absolutely reliant on your ability to let go. Swimmers, they talk about this. I don't know anything about swimming or speed skating, but watching as a fan watching on the Olympics, they talk all the time about when you start pushing, you ruin your stamina and your flow, and you never win that way.
When you let go and you're in
let
flow,
go. Yes.
What's pushing you along? What river is that?
Yeah, what river is that? It's a better river, whatever it is. It comes from, I would call it, okay, if I was teaching an acting class now, what I would say is it comes from a combination of being healthy, being well-trained, and being well-prepared. And I would say that's the same as an athlete.
Overcoming that fear, overcoming that trickiness to find your authentic self. Did I understand it correctly that that's one of the keys to unlocking the sense of flow, or no?
I think so, yeah.
All right.
I think so, but I will also add, it's complicated. There's lots of aspects to finding the flow that are mysterious, right?
BD, for you to get into a state of flow, is there a practice or a way that you prepare?
I am a regular participant in a series called Selected Shorts, which is the reading of short stories, literary short stories, very good dramatic short stories that you hear on National Public Radio. And it's actors in New York City recorded live, and they read the short stories. They can be anywhere from 7 to 45 minutes long. And I've, over the years, been a regular reader there. And traditionally, the way they get actors to do it is they say, it's really easy. Their script is right there. You don't have to memorize it. You don't have to, there's no staging. You're standing at a music stand. The microphone is there. The audience is wonderful. They're very responsive. It's easy and great. You'll love it. And that's true. And then I also was engaged there as a host of the show, which meant I came out and greeted the people and I introduced the various actors that came out. And I got to watch the process of many actors doing this and the audience and how they interacted. And I realized that no, actually, those actors who put in real preparation were the ones who killed or ate, as we say now.
Who
And
changed the molecules?
yes, who wanted to really change the molecules. If you really wanted to do that, you could not just
You
get
can't
up
just
there
wing
and
it.
read it.
Prepare.
Yeah.
And a lot of actors who were not experienced in this or weren't told this would try to do that and kind of struggle a little bit. And I've learned over the years, not just from selected shorts, from everything I've ever done, because being an actor in New York is full of one-day readings or one-week things where you're presenting a play that's new and in development, lots of reading, lots of short-term rehearsal periods, and lots of optional self-initiated rehearsal at home. In other words, I could be watching TV and going, oh, I got to go to that rehearsal for that reading tomorrow. I'm just going to read it. It's fine. Or I could say, no, I really want to do a good job, and I'm not going to watch TV tonight. I'm going to read this 5 times or whatever. My talent is only as good as the preparation allows it to be. I can't rely on the talent to get me through something where I'm stumbling over the words. The preparation allows me to find the channel, the groove, the flow, and relax. And then the relaxation is the other part. You can't relax if you're not prepared.
Right.
So and relaxation, as we're saying, with the swimmers and with the skaters, is absolutely essential. And I think that the talent and the preparation come together and allow you to be relaxed.
You use the word emotion a lot in sort of the craft of being an actor.
Oh, yeah.
And when I was hearing you talk about the preparation that goes into it, where my mind went is, oh, that's interesting. By preparing so much that it just feels fluent in the moment, you take your mind out of it.
Yes.
You're not thinking. You can just be in the emotional moment.
Yes, that's
and
absolutely
harness
right.
those emotions, and that's what allows you to be the best actor.
That the finding of that is very elusive, very mercurial, especially when you're dealing with on-camera work. The pressure is incredible. The camera's rolling. You see, you're looking. They're counting down. The guy's going like this,
Right.
And go.
Right. Yeah.
And the most amazing actors, that I've worked with that can tune it out and be in that place and feel it, whatever it is, and be true to it, regardless of all of that, amaze me. It's easier on stage because it's not all chopped up.
Right. Yeah. There's a live audience.
There's an opportunity for flow actually that you don't have when you're chopping it all out.
Yeah. I mean, what we're talking about actually is we're talking about ritual, right?
Yeah,
the importance of
absolutely.
ritual in unlocking emotional states.
Yes. Right.
And this is absolutely important in spirituality or religion.
Yeah.
I mean, people don't normally think about this maybe, but there are rituals that bring people together in a congregation where they start singing specific things, and there's a cadence to things that unlocks emotional states of being.
Yes. Every once in a while I say something and I will think, well, that's kind of spiritual, right? So that makes me spiritual, right?
Yeah.
That part of me that thinks spiritually.
Yeah.
And navigates and feels
Yeah.
direction. And
I certainly
guidance and flow.
don't. Yes, exactly. And certainly don't think of it religiously.
Spirituality to religion is like exercise to sport. Religion is just kind of a particularly organized way with particular rules and particular regimens. You can get great exercise by not playing an organized basketball game.
Yeah.
You can just do planking at home or whatever, or go on a walk or something. And spirituality is just that. It's just exercise for your brain and your soul.
At different chapters in your own life, have you deliberately chosen stories in which to act or write or direct as a pathway, as a form of inquiry into your own journey?
2017, my best friend and I began writing a musical. We wanted to write a musical because we have chemistry as writers together. He's a composer and I write lyrics. And we had a friend who was a mentor who worked for Disney. And he said, we went to him for advice. And he said, well, why don't you look in the Disney catalog And if there's anything that appeals to you, I'll see if I can help you get the rights to it. And getting the rights to a movie or a project, intellectual property, is extremely difficult and arduous, and it's why most people give up on the process of writing a musical that's an adaptation. And we watched a lot of terrible Disney movies that were all like from the 90s and were just dumb and didn't want them. And then there was this one movie that really appealed to us and that I remembered loving as a kid. And we inquired about that movie and wrote the musical adaptation of this movie. And that movie is a movie called Mr. Holland's Opus, which is the story of a high school music teacher and his relationships with various students over the years. He feels undervalued and undernourished as an artist because of his chosen path as a teacher. And then in the 11th hour of his, during his retirement, all of his students come back and celebrate him. And
Deeply moving.
it's deeply moving. That core of that was what drove us to take the project on. It was a core value of mine and a core, what do you call it when something's awakened in you that's dormant, or like it was a thing that was always there, and that was basically my relationship with my high school drama teacher, Mrs. Chanis, and also my relationship with my 9th grade humanities teacher, Mr. Romagnolo, who I haven't talked about, but was also a brilliant teacher.
It'll be as you create Mr. Holland's Opus, the musical, you will have elevated your extraordinary teacher and
That's what I
honored
hope.
all true teachers.
That is what I hope.
All true teachers.
So cool.
Yeah, that is what I hope. Thank you so much.
Beatty, we're so honored that you joined us. You're such a teacher.
Thanks for having me.